Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled Tzizith number 34, the number of knots. So it's fascinating when one goes back to the Sugya and the Gemara Menachot, certain ideas that we took for granted, we realize not simple at all. One idea that everyone assumes is 5 knots. That's what tzitzis are made out of. Look at anyone's tzitzit and you'll see. You put the 4 strings through, doubled up into 8, and we have 5 knots. And in between the 5 knots, you have 7, 8, 11, 13 wraparounds. And then you have each one is secured by a knot on either side. And that's obvious. Not obvious from the Sugya. As a matter of fact, Rashi introduces the concept of 5 knots on the daf of the Gemara Lamed Ted. Tosfos says, not from the Gemara. It's not mefurash. It's not explicit in the Gemara. He says maybe you could learn and in certain cases that maybe there's a hint of 5, but it's not open in the Gemara. Rashi introduces it, but he wasn't really the first source. Tigum Yonatan ben Uziel already talked about it, which that's already in Talmudic times. He already had the concept of the knot, the 5 knots. The Zohar mentions it as well. So it is an early idea. But it's not just a question of the history of when it was first mentioned. Tikkun Zohar, Yonatan Buzia, Rashi. The question is more than that. Wherever the original source is it something that everyone agrees you must have? Because if someone takes a look at Tzizith, those who are Techelet, you'll see you don't have 5 knots. For many don't have 5 knots, especially the Rambam type. So the fact is the Gemara does not openly mention it. And yes, Tikkun Yonatan does, but it's not an open psak in the Gemara, which means it's open and subject to dispute. So Rashi goes in and talks about the 5 knots. He says 5 knots is because you have the gematria of tzitzis is 600. We have 8 strings, that's 608. You want to get, since it says Chazak Motzvot Hashem, the Torah says that tzitzis reminds us of Hashem, so you want to get to 613, you add 5 more knots. That's Rashi. Tosfos works out how the gematria fits in. The Etor says that in the Gemara's times when they had blue, it worked out that they had 7 chuliot, 7 series of wraparounds, 5 white knots, 3 blue knots. So he wants to say the 5 knots come from that. That even though we don't have blue anymore, we do the white knots, 5 white knots like they did back then. The bottom line is we have Rashi, we have Tosafot, the Etor, and others that do talk about having 5 knots. And therefore, many who wrap Tchelet today will keep the 5 knots with the Tchelet. Others do like the Rambam. Rambam didn't have 5 knots. All the Rambam had was a knot at the beginning. Then you have 1 white wraparound. And then everything is blue till the final white string at the end. And you can have anywhere between 7 and 13 series. Those are chuliot. So many Rambam wearers will have 1 knot at the beginning, a white wraparound, then 2 blue, then have a series adding up to 13 julio. And they're all going to be blue in the middle, except the very end is going to be blue, blue, white. And it's not they're not really knotted. They're tucked one under another so that it stays connected. And he said, Rambam, how do you have Rambam tzitzis? Rambam, where are your knots? The answer is the Rambam didn't have the 5 knots because knot is not mefresh in the Gemara. It's Rashi, it's Tosfos, it's Zohar, Tigum Yonatan ben Uziel, and the Etor. So you have those who talk about those knots, but it's not open in the Gemara, and therefore there is leeway among the commentaries regarding this issue. And of course, each person will do according to his posek, as his posek says. Shalom.